grateful for the love that has been shown to each one of us, the graduating seniors, and for the opportunities given to us to respond to that love and to share that love with others during these past 4 years. As we come to such a major stepping stone in the path of our lives, we give thanks for all the efforts that have been poured into our lives through our parents, our teachers, and the many people of this community who have done so much to encourage us and enrich our educational environment. We are also grateful for the recognition and the honors that this district has received because of the dedication and the service of the students here this evening. But we know that the real fruits of our labor will be revealed as we, young men and women, move on to accomplish the goals that have been set for us. So, our offering this evening is this: that our lives be touched with such a way that will enable us to reach our total potential, that we will seek wisdom and strength in all of our endeavors, that our eyes will be focused so that we can receive every blessing that is in store for us, and that we will always be filled with a desire to serve others. Thank you.
President of this senior class, it is my pleasure to welcome you all here today to the graduation of the class of 1993. I would like to congratulate every graduate for the accomplishments in making it through the St. Clair halls of education. Looking back at pictures and memories on my many years here at St. Clair, it seems that the time has flown by. But when we lived it day by day and test by test, it seemed that the end would never come. However, it has come today. It is now time for the graduates to move into a new life where we will be living independently and maybe even with strangers in dormitories or apartments who will be part of our new family away from home. The lessons we have learned at home and at school will help us to succeed in our new lives. At this time, I would like to thank Dr. Pope for all his support for our class this past year, and Mrs. Chris and Mr. D for everything they've done. I wish to thank everyone here who has helped a graduate succeed in their goals. Parents, grandparents, families, and teachers, thank you. Thank you for supporting us in whatever we chose was right for us, whether it was sports, music, or academics. I hope that everyone in the stands and who are sitting here today feel a sense of accomplishment for either graduating or helping someone achieve their goals. Two people here today who have seen the peaks and valleys in my life and have always been there for me are my parents. I could never have done what I've done without them, and I'd love to thank them now. I hope that everyone feels that this past year will be remembered fondly with memories and pictures of homecoming, Sadie's, prom, senior banquet, senior cruise, and all the fun activities in between. Our high school memories will be with us forever, and I hope that everyone will remember them with as much enthusiasm as I will. Congratulations to all the 1993 graduates, and remember that this is the time to remember.
Hello, my name is Shobin DeVay. Today I would like to thank God, my parents, my teachers, and the members of my class. These past 4 years have been a tremendous experience. Change best describes it. We have all matured into We've all matured into unique individuals, different and able in our own ways. Through these years, I've developed greater self-confidence. I'm comfortable with my identity, as is the rest of the class of 1993. This reality has promoted the individuality our class possesses. Through our individual talents, we have all developed. These talents have enabled us to develop into athletes, scholars, and leaders. Today, I'm the valedictorian. Today, you are the athlete. Today, you are the leader. But we cannot rely on what we are today for tomorrow. Tomorrow will be different, for it is our future. As John Wayne said, tomorrow is the most important thing in life. Comes into us at midnight very clean. It's perfect when it arrives, and it puts itself in our hands. It hopes we've learned something from yesterday. During these past 4 years, I've become aware of my strengths and my weaknesses. We can assess our qualities by looking back on yesterday. Tomorrow, we will enter a more diverse world. Remember how you've learned to think more independently and more open-mindedly. Through this type of thinking, we will adapt to the changing world. Let's learn from our yesterday to help shape a more prosperous, though different future. Paz en el mundo.
Life is truly ironic. Just when you find yourself on top, something happens to bring you back down. This past week, as I was preparing to receive my high school diploma, I received this, my first tuition bill for college. We have all experienced many high points and low points these last 4 years. Our class won an unprecedented 5 WPIAL championships this year. Prom, holidays with our grandparents, our friends, and certainly today have all been occasions which we will always remember. Then there were those bad times, the injuries, the friends who moved away. For me, it was 2 close friends, Jerry Heath and Rich Tobin. There were those terrible Saturday mornings when we had to take the SATs. And of course, watching the Penguins during the playoffs this last year. Yet through it all, my faith and my relationship with Jesus Christ has enabled me to endure both the good and the bad. After all references to God were removed from today's invocation, many of my classmates asked me to say a prayer during my speech. You can take this as a prayer, you can take this as advice, or you can take it at all. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. However, I believe actions speak louder than words. As I look around, I see many faithful friends, many caring families, many supportive teachers and guidance counselors. Ladies and gentlemen, their lives, their faith, their actions are a greater prayer than any words that I could say today. Many people feel that God is being taken out of everything, but one only needs to open his eyes and look around to see him. Thank you, and God bless.
Figures I'd have to follow a good speech, huh? All my friends told me that this speech had better be the shortest and funniest speech they'd ever heard. Great idea, but that's just not me. During the next 2 minutes, I'd like to reminisce about all that we've experienced throughout the past 4 years we've been together. Every moment of disappointment and every moment of inspiration. Every feeling of fear and every feeling of invincibility. Every feeling of vulnerability and every feeling of immortality. Because throughout these 4 years, which seem to have begun only yesterday, we've all experienced our moments of success. Whether it be in the classroom, on an athletic field, in a music room, or merely in the hallway. We have all been encouraged to compete to the greatest of our ability, and have all been rewarded and praised when we do well. It is a shame that only 8 people get to stand up and speak as representatives of the class of 1993 today. Because as I look out among everyone, I see a group of young adults with such a wide variety of talents that it's astonishing. We all have some strength, talent, ability, or knowledge that is better than someone else. And if it were up to me, everyone would receive an award today, because everyone here is a success. We're about to become the next graduating class from Upper St. Clair High School, a place we will all remember well. My advice to you as we venture into the world is to take all your successes and all your memories with you as you make your next step. My advice to you is to always be strong and lead your life as you would like to, and not how other people tell you. My advice to you is to learn from your mistakes and to move on to your next endeavor without looking back, because we will all make mistakes, and we will all have to live with them. Actually, my advice to you is not to take any advice. Because in this world where there is so much love and so much hate, the only person we can really trust is ourselves. And before I finish, there's one more thing I'd like to say to all my close friends. I was already mentioned at baccalaureate. To Gabe and Darren, that's never to forget the frick mission in it. But, thank you and God bless.
For the past 4 years, it seems like we have become so centered and so focused on this day and on what will follow. Before we each go on our own separate ways, and we each try to discover what life may hold for us, I just hope you all remember that no matter where life takes you, or no matter where life has taken you, the ability to endure any hardship, the capability to learn from any mistake, and the power to overcome all obstacles. All this comes from within yourself. And I believe that there's no amount of teaching or training, and there are no books or lectures in any university that will ever be able to equal the power and the strength that only you can give yourself. In the words of John O. London, when all is said and done, it is the strength and wisdom that comes from within, not that which is imposed from without, that justifies us in our own eyes and in the eyes of the world. If we have that, we can face the world upon our own ground and go forward into the future in freedom. Here is something truly indestructible. At this time, I'd just like to thank my mom and dad and the rest of my family and friends, and say congratulations and good luck to the class of 1993.
I once read that life happens in a heartbeat, and if you close your eyes, you may miss something important. I've only recently realized how true this is when I think about the future. It's difficult to believe that our graduation day is finally here, that it is already here. Looking to tomorrow and reflecting bittersweetly upon yesterday, I am sad, elated, uncertain, anxious, and excited all at once. Full of anticipation of what our futures hold for us, we all have our own hopes, ambitions, and dreams to fulfill or to chase after. Just keep one thing in mind. Remember to always keep your eyes open. You will never know when a seemingly insignificant opportunity may be the precious unlocked door to the path to your dream, and you don't want it to slam shut without your ever knowing. Your future can change in an instant. However, your dreams, whether they become a reality or remain forever a fantasy, are always yours and can never be taken away or destroyed. Thank you to my family, friends, and teachers, especially you, Mom and Dad and Sandy, for all of your advice, even when I didn't think I needed it, and your unflagging support. To the graduating class of 1993, I wish you all the best of luck and happiness in your future. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, fellow students, almost 4 years ago, as I was frantically trying to find my way to my classes, never knowing what was coming next, I never dreamed that I would be speaking before you all today. However, unlike my day's confusion as a freshman, I am now looking confidently toward my future. The future holds special challenges for each of us. One challenge that I'm sure will affect many of us is the constantly changing technology in our world. There are two ways to view this rapid change in technology. The first is simply to assume that it's impossible to keep up with an understanding of new things, remaining content with what one already knows and understands. The other possibility is to view this new technological age as exciting and thought-provoking. Though it is impossible to understand all of the new advances, often certain new technologies offer much toward the betterment of life. The effectiveness of technology in our lives depends greatly on the extent to which we embody the latter idea. Additionally, the degree to which we are prepared to accept and understand new technologies plays an important role in our ability to make use of them. Technology is useless without people who know how to use it to their advantage. Education, both what we have already experienced and what will follow, is the key to keeping up with the growing demands of a technological society. Education can give us the ability to integrate technology into a meaningful part of our lives. This day represents a great number of different things to different people. For some, it is the celebration of the end of one phase of their lives. For others, it represents the doorway to a challenging new world of technology ahead. Thank you and good luck to all of you.
Classmates, 13 years ago, we jumped on the school bus bearing our Dukes of Hazzard book bags and our Cabbage Patch Kids. Because at that time we barely knew the difference between right and wrong, we bestowed total faith in the judgment of our parents, family, and teachers. We relied on their knowledge and experience as a source for growth and development. By trusting devotedly the guidance of our guardians, we were able to reach this pinnacle of our childhood. Congratulations. But now we are faced with a situation very similar to that 13 years ago. Still, in the shadows of the great changes we are about to encounter, we hardly know the difference between right and wrong. But now, the nurturing guidance of our families may not be as easily attainable. When we are far away from our loved ones, many miles from this wonderful school, and faced with a difficult decision, who will we turn to? How will we survive without the people who have influenced our lives so greatly? The answer may or may not be obvious. The Upper St. Clair School District, as well as our families, have tried to teach it to us over the years. How will we survive these changes, problems, and questions with which we'll be faced over the next few years? We will learn to trust ourselves. We will seek our own knowledge and experience as the source for our growth. We will trust our own abilities and know that we have the power to dream and realize these dreams. Over the last 13 years, we have gained much knowledge and experience. Remember that we can learn as much from our failures as from our successes. I ask that you also remember to trust yourself and your ability to use your knowledge. Good luck, Upper St. Clair High School class of 1993. Thank you, Mom, Dad, Matt, and the boys. God bless you all.
Many of us have our own definition of success. To some of us, that might be owning an elaborate estate, having a long and happy marriage, or maybe just making it through high school. However, all these successes, no matter how we define them, depend greatly on the grace of God. Whether we realize it or not, God has and continues to touch our lives each and every day. From the time I can remember, I have been taught by my grandparents and parents that God is our friend, and that He calls each one of us to be friends with each other. That is why we come to you, our Lord, attracted by your goodness and your love. We come seeking your friendship. We seek you as a friend in whom we can confide when we are discouraged, confused, or in need of help. We seek you as a friend with whom we can share our hopes, our joys, our ambitions, our ideals. We seek you as a friend whom we can love, for our hearts were made to love. We seek you as a friend who will love us in return, for we fear to be alone and we rely on your love. O Lord, reveal to us the splendor that is you and the strength of your love for us. Dissolve the hard shells of selfishness so that our hearts may expand with generosity towards all. Lord, make us all friends. We ask you, Lord, to remember us as we go our separate ways and encourage us with your love. We thank you for this day and the many gifts you have given us. Let us never forget your loving touch. Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad. Thank you, all of my friends. And thank you, God.
Graduation 93. I was talking with a parent last week and who had an incident happen in a class some number of years ago. And she said, "Do you remember when such and so-and-so happened?" And I said, "Well, Madeline, yes, but they're all these graduations are a little different and we've really learned from them. While they may seem to be the same, they are unique. This one would certainly fall in that particular category." As I look back over some of the graduations, I've realized that I learned a lot from the various graduations. In my 20s, I was a principal of a high school in the northern part of Pennsylvania, had 1,450 10th through 12th graders. At that age, I thought I knew everything. I wasn't a parent, so I knew all about parenting. I was going to Penn State. I was shortly going to become an expert. I taught for a few years. I knew all about that. I learned a lot from the members of the class of 70 of Bradford Area High School. One of the leaders, by the way, an interesting footnote of that class, I should say leaders as in ring, is our township manager, Doug Watkins. I learned a lot from Doug Watkins and his classmates. One of the reasons Doug and I continue to get along is that I still have his voluminous disciplinary folder from the senior year. But I quickly learned there is no substitute for experience. In 1979, we had an open campus controversy in our school. I was in the hospital during April of '79 in the life or death situation, and have undergone conditions which forever emotionally, mentally, and certainly physically have altered my life. We closed the campus because parents demanded it. We limited student use of automobiles for the same reason. We learned we have to involve the community more. 1990, my son graduated from high school. It was not easy for him. It was not easy for me. Learning was difficult. But I learned through hard work, perseverance, dedication, that results can be achieved. He almost graduated 3 years ago to this day, so I consider this to be, in several ways, an anniversary. Then we have today, 1993. There's been a lot of talk in the news media, talk shows, conversations in offices, ball fields, about what's happened in Upper St. Clair this past week. I'm pleased to report from my observations, the class of '93 has shown a great deal of understanding of each other, an appreciation for, and a tolerance of one another. They should be congratulated for that. I think they have shown their maturation, that they have gone about changes throughout their life. Do you remember your biggest concern, parents of the class of '93, when your son or daughter came to Upper St. Clair High School? It was my biggest concern, too. You were concerned because of one of the rites of passage in our society, in our school systems, entering the 9th grade. Was he or she going to be harassed in the 9th grade year? That was my concern. I had a senior. All summer long, I heard from Jimmy and a few of his friends what they were going to do to these 9th graders. So we had a lot in common from that point. Obviously, none of this materializes to any great extent. We also heard that the class of '93, as alluded to this afternoon in the baccalaureate address, perhaps was not the best, but with the guidance and the direction of a capable faculty, they have matured in a most positive manner. This class, perhaps, is rather prophetic. How appropriate that the theme of this year's yearbook is weighing the choices. We've certainly weighed the choices in the last week or so, haven't we? In their yearbook, they talked about their student life, where the people they contacted, the world events, how it affected their lives, how their control was based upon how they dealt with the various options. They said they were very careful to make sure that they weighed the choices. They talked about people that make daily decisions, with whom to eat, with whom to talk, from whom to receive help. Every connection they made brought about a host of new situations, experiences, and choices. They wrote about the activities, how their hobbies and interests could be satisfied through these activities, and how they had to make choices. They talked about the academics, which courses to choose, how to spend their time, which resource center to go. The environment that we have at Upper St. Clair meant that the students had to weigh the choices. They talked about sports, where the participants had to make strategies based upon what their opponent was doing. And in athletics, they had to make choices. In review, they reflected upon Upper St. Clair High School's years as being very distinctive. They talked about volunteering. They talked about the need to reach out. In closing, they wrote, "Look back over the choices we have made. Their lives were characterized by juggling responsibilities and sneaking time to relax and have fun with friends." They indicate that they feel they were successful because they carefully weighed the choices. Hence, it would seem all future decisions, future choices, will be made upon that decision. I submit to you that after choices have been made and decisions have been made, life becomes a little easier, directions become a little more clear. I submit that the class of '93 is now equipped to weigh the choices and indeed make decisions. Dr. Pope, this is the opportunity you and Kim have been waiting for. I'm pleased to present to you the class of 1993 of the Upper St. Clair Township High School. It is a class who has members who have distinguished themselves both state, nationally, and locally. It is a class who provide the leadership, for example, to enable our school, small as it may be comparatively, to win 5 WPL championships. It is a class that can be proud of its record. Dr. Pope, please be aware that the class assembled before you has satisfied the requirements for graduation that have been identified by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. In addition, those seniors assembled before you have satisfied the requirements for graduation of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. It is a great deal of honor and pride that I'm pleased to present to you a mature class of 1993. Dr. Pope, the graduating class of the Upper St. Clair High School, 1993.
You might say I have waited 18 years to deliver this speech to the graduating class of 1993. I have a very personal reason for wanting to do my best today. My son Ryan is a member of this class, and so the idea of this speech came quite naturally. What Mom and Dad have always wanted to tell you, but never found just the right words, and you never found quite enough time to listen. Well, I have you now, because you have to sit there and listen. And I hope that these words today represent the wishes, the thoughts, and the feelings of all the parents who are responsible for the 289 seniors who are sitting on the field with me today. While much of the following parental wisdom comes from Kim and me, I am obliged to Marion Wright Ebelman, founder and president of the Children's Defense Fund, and author of The Measure of Our Success, A Letter to My Children and Yours, for validating what I thought was an incredibly novel idea, and for inspiring me with her sensitivity and love. Thanks also to Denise Lynch, our head librarian, who always manages to find the appropriate resource material to support my most unusual requests. I hope that what I have to say will have meaning for all the members of the class, but mostly for all the parents as well. I'm speaking for all of us. If not, I apologize. But one of the advantages of being superintendent on commencement day is that I get to give a speech. And last year, I didn't even get to do that. Here goes. Dear son, number one, your mother and I love you very much, and sometimes that love may look like criticism, anger, frustration, and disappointment. But unlike other members of the animal kingdom, humans are not innately perfect parents. Although we seldom get it right in our children's eyes, it is not for lack of wanting or caring or trying. You may have your own son someday. Use us as an example of what to do or what not to do. Whatever you do, do it out of love and it will be the right thing. Life doesn't come with an instruction book. That's why we have mothers and fathers. Number two, don't do it for anyone but yourself. Ryan, you don't owe your mother or me anything. By doing your best in high school, you adequately rewarded us. It is now time to pay yourself back for all of your hard work and sacrifices. Tomorrow begins the process of living your own dream. But keep in mind the saying, seen often on a coffee mug, graduation is life's way of saying the party's over. Number three, Abraham Lincoln once said, most people are about as happy as they make up their minds to be. I urge you, implore you, beg you to decide to be happy all the time. You can never conquer life until you can conquer your attitude. No one has the power to make you unhappy any more than they have the power to make you hungry. Happiness comes from within you and colors everything outside of you. Your smile and your personality will overcome as many of life's challenges as your wits, and people will seek you out if you're happy. There are simply too many unhappy people in this world. Number four, be honest with everyone, especially yourself. You have a special personality. Each of us does. That's what makes each of us unique. Unfortunately, we are often trying to change it so we will impress someone or some group and therefore be accepted. In a perfect world, there are no jocks, no geeks, no squids, and no nerds. We have created all of these groups by creating all of the labels. As I thought about our relationship, I realized that the times when we got along best and liked each other the most was when I played my role as dad and you played your role as parent. When I tried to act like a kid, or you tried to act like a parent, we were both sometimes disappointed. I like you better when you're just plain Ryan. Number five, learn to enjoy the quiet of your own company. Learn to be your best friend. I have learned over the years to enjoy the quiet and become my own counsel. Enjoying being alone is not unusual or strange. Too often we look to others to supply strength we might best find in ourselves. Once you develop confidence in your judgment and feelings, you will become your best friend and your best advisor. Number six, please and thank you are some of the most important words that you can use. Not once in my whole life was I ever offended by hearing the words please or thank you, and I have learned not to take them for granted. It may seem to be a simple courtesy, but the simple things in life are sometimes the most beautiful and most powerful. A smile, a touch, a kind word, and a tear are all simple, powerful, and beautiful, but no more so than saying please and thank you. Number seven, be particular in choosing your own friends. Each of us is unique, but we are not all comfortable in the fast lane. More importantly, it's not always safe in the fast lane. You must compete in this life only with yourself and be accountable to yourself. Therefore, to win friends by being something you are not or someone you don't like makes little sense and takes incredible energy. When you find someone who loves you purely for who you are, ask her to marry you. But not until you're 45, moved out of our house, and have a job. And finally, number 8, I'll end where I began. Your mother and I love you very much, and nothing that you ever do will diminish that love. While today may be the happiest day of your life, it will certainly be one of the saddest of ours. So please forgive me if I hug you when you come through the line. Good luck to the class of '93, and on behalf of your parents, your guardians, your relatives, your friends, your brothers and sisters, we love you. This is your day. Mr. Gabler, school board president, as a commissioned officer of the state of Pennsylvania, I can attest that the seniors seated before you have met and satisfied the requirements of the Upper St. Clair School District, the Upper St. Clair School Board, and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. It is with pride that I present to you the graduating class of 1993.
Thank you, Dr. Pope. On behalf of the Board of School Directors, I would like to congratulate the members of the graduating class of 1993. Last year, as Dr. Pope mentioned, I was scheduled to speak at the commencement ceremony, but a threatening storm and an apparent crack of lightning caused my speech and Dr. Pope's speech to be deleted from the program. The ovation on that day was louder than the thunder. I hope to do as well this year. As I was going to say last year, and will say this year, commencement ceremonies remind me of a Peanuts cartoon. Linus turns to Charlie Brown and says, "I think the world is much better today than it was 5 years ago." Charlie replies, "How could you say that? Don't you ever read the papers? Don't you listen to the radio? How can you stand there and tell me this is a better world?" And Linus quietly replies, "Because I'm in it now." To the graduating class, you are in it now, and welcome. Today is a day of celebration for me and a day of reflection. For it was 25 years ago on a weekend like this in June that I graduated from college. 2 days before our graduation, Senator Robert Kennedy had been assassinated. In April of that same year, Dr. Martin Luther King had been assassinated. The Tet Offensive had just begun in Vietnam. We had just graduated, and like you, we were in it. So indulge me for a moment while I pass along some guidance, since I think the world is much better today than it was 25 years ago. Where do you find answers when you are in it, in this imperfect world, and things don't fit together quite as neatly as we explained in school? And frequently, there are no correct answers, and there are lots of compromises. I think we've all learned about compromises in this last week. In part, I have found my answers from an understanding of the lives of others and what drove them to do what they did. And I would like to speak briefly of one of these people, Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson had carved in stone at his gravesite his words regarding the most important elements of his legacy. And I guess he didn't trust us to remember them. Many of you remember the first one. I'm sure all of you remember the first one. Author of the Declaration of American Independence. And I'm not sure how many of us remember the other two. The second was that he was author of the Statute of Virginia for Religious Freedom. And third, he was the father of the University of Virginia. His first two accomplishments are expressions of a passionate concern throughout his adult life for individual liberty. And so was his last accomplishment as father of the University of Virginia. He stressed that people in an advanced society could not be at the same time ignorant and free, and emphasized the value of education as an instrument of freedom. His first two accomplishments were on paper and were made in successive years when he was only age 33 and 34. And his last accomplishment was recognized in bricks and mortar and ended a few weeks before his death at the age of 83. And I would like to comment briefly on my marvel of this actual task. Since we are in our own renovation program, I have great reason to marvel right now. This man had no formal education in architecture. Early sketches revealed he had little understanding of basic physics and no understanding of proportion. And yet he constructed what has been described as probably the single most beautiful and effective architectural group of its kind in the history of American building. This was the last great act of his life and the achievement of a vision of nearly a half century, a vision of educational freedom. He stated regarding the university, "We are not afraid to follow truth wherever it may lead, nor to tolerate any error, so long as reason is left free to combat it." In this last week, we have witnessed firsthand the dreams and visions of individual liberty and educational freedom. In this last week, we have witnessed the issue of separation of church and state. We have witnessed the issue of freedom of speech, and we have witnessed the rights of freedom as they stand today. The class of 1993 has had its beginnings in this world as a footnote in history. On behalf of the school board, I now recognize this graduating class of 1993 as having fulfilled the requirements for graduation. But I challenge you to commit, to use your education, to commit to reason, to commit to freedom. For it is your commitment that will make our world better than it is today. I would like to end with a few words written by a friend to all of us. "I do the things that I must do. I answer to me and not to you. I'm not ashamed of what I've done. I look to me, no other one. I say the things that I must say. I say them true from day to day. I act my way not as you would. I act the way I think I should." Thank you, Mr. J. Walsh, and congratulations to the class of 1993.
Kristen Ann Lasonic, President of Student Council.
Tiffany Shiloh Timmons, President, Class of 1993.
Brian Robert Cardello, Vice President, Class of 1993.
Karen Elizabeth Clark, Secretary, Class of 1993.
Michelle Marie Ford, Treasurer, Class of 1993.
Shobhan Arun DeVay, Valedictorian, Class of 1993.
Ryan Reeves Klein, Valedictorian, Class of 1993.
Brian Matthew D'Onofrio, Valedictorian, Class of 1993.
Ellen Ji Young Lee, Valedictorian, Class of 1993.
Nancy Lowe, Valedictorian, Class of 1993.
Michael Douglas Reeves, Valedictorian, Class of 1993.
Gregory Scott Nesbitt, Valedictorian, Class of 1993.
Thomas Michael Stuhldreher, Valedictorian, Class of 1993.
Linnell Ann Fisher.
Anthony James Accomando.
Arik Yaakov Price.
Michelle Lynn Adler.
Terry Lynn Loomish.
Gregory Douglas Agostinelli.
Mary Helen Lucy.
Casey Arthur Allred.
Scott Ramsey McDonald.
Christine Elizabeth Anglin.
Christine Elizabeth McGee.
Todd Jeffrey Anstis.
Rena Leilani Maharaja.
Jennifer Lynn Ashton.
Eric John Major.
Sean Michael Bailey.
David Emery Mandler.
Brett William Balsinger.
James Glenn Manos.
David Robert Barco.
Angelina Doherty Marino.
Vanessa Joanne Barton.
Darren Christopher Martin.
Karen Patricia Bell.
Cynthia Lee Martino.
Aaron Reed Beam.
Eric Andrew Maxiner.
Allison Joan Beers.
Mark Thomas McAleer.
Eric Clifford Beidelman.
Timothy Boyd McAllister.
Lindsay Ann Bell.
Shelby Lee McCall.
David Llewellyn Bernard.
Meredith Jean McCann.
Brandon Jonathan Bernath.
Megan Lee McCoy.
Matthew N. Bishop.
Brad Matthew McHugh.
Matthew Bernard Babonsky.
William Robert McCain.
Jennifer Kathleen Bolus.
Jill Laura McNaughton.
Lisa Renee Bonenberger.
Matthew Wayne Mahaffey.
Aaron Lynn Board.
Farnaz Mamarzada.
Darren Mitchell Booth.
Michael Sean Messina.
Jonathan Joseph Pistocchi.
Jonathan Milgis.
Brian Joseph Bowman.
Bart Joseph Miltonberger.
Kelly Shannon Britcher.
David James Miner.
Mark Charles Broadhurst.
Rebecca Dickinson Monroe.
Emily Elizabeth Brown.
Stacy Elaine Moore.
Kelly Marie Bryan.
Megan Elizabeth Moran.
Michael David Bryson.
Julie Patricia Morgan.
Renee Marie Carbonera.
Ian James Murphy.
Elena Kristen Chappas.
Kathleen Brenna Myron.
Gretchen Lynn Childs, Executive Officer, Student Council, 1993.
David Thomas Mislinski.
Robert John Cimaroli.
Mark J. Neustadt.
Jennifer Dorothy Coleman.
Darren Thomas Nicholson.
Wendy Christine Caldwell.
Jennifer Louise Nicholson.
Ann Elizabeth Comer.
Terrence James O'Brien.
Vasilia Petra Konamos.
Martin Adoe Jabe Adote.
Michael Anthony Cortez.
Jennifer Kristen Osel.
Catherine Ann Coyle.
Donald Robert Owens.
Cassie Rain Crawford.
Timothy Andrew Palka.
Jennifer Lee Crane.
Amy Marie Palmer.
Douglas James Cronin.
Teresa Ann Pappas.
Matthew Vincent Cunningham.
Jyoti Hasmukh Parekh.
Stacy Lynn Silk.
Jason Young Park.
Peter Michael Sarika.
Julie Ann Park.
Amanda Elizabeth Daly.
Melissa Ann Pasquinelli.
Allison Reed Daly.
Rupa Hero Patel.
Kelly Diane Darkwood.
Michelle Lynn Patton.
Christina Danielle DeAngelis.
Brian Edward Perry.
Nicole Angelina DiCarlo.
David Alexander Phillips.
Philip Eugene Dennison.
Paul Matthew Phillips, Executive Officer, Student Council.
Scott Douglas DeVore.
Matthew Todd Pickering.
Kimberly Ann Director.
Christy Elizabeth Petrogallo.
Kelly Jean Doherty.
Brett William Pitcairn.
Patrick Ryan Doyle.
Ryan Matthew Pope.
Mark Allen Dragoo.
Jill Maria Popovich.
Brian Michael Drexler.
Jennifer Michelle Porter.
Christopher Paul Dunn.
Edward James Proudly.
Deborah Allen Eckstein.
James Christopher Quealy.
Peter Maxon Earnhardt.
Miriam Diare Quest.
John Richard Evans, Jr.
Anthony Joseph Rispanti.
David Wilson Einan, Jr.
Jessica Lynn Reason.
Andrew T. Fannin.
Jody Marie Reese.
Jill Ann Farrell.
Maria Myrna Reyes.
Robin Leslie Fine.
Jennifer Miriam Richardson.
Vanessa Marie Fink.
Mark Sherwood Richardson.
Jessica Elizabeth Franken.
Jennifer Lynn Ringel.
Sarah Jane Frenisich.
Stacy Danielle Riston.
Meredith Baxter Fraser.
Joseph George Romano.
David Kendall Fratteri.
Suzanne Beth Rosenberg.
Heather Eileen Friday.
Dulcie Roberta Roth.
Kara Lee Frigilana.
Megan Jane Rao.
David John Gallo.
Todd Edward Ruano.
Molly McGuire Gossa.
Mark Arthur Rutledge.
Diane Marie Gearing.
Knut Sater.
Drew William Gerlach.
Tiffin Lynn Sanders.
Holly Marie Gerlach.
Stephen Michael Sarek.
Michael Anthony Galati, Jr.
Sean Gregory Schenk.
Juliet Suzanne Gold.
Justin Robert Schmidt.
Michael Ian Golden.
Renee Lynn Schmiedel.
Stephen Ira Gorin.
CJ Scott.
Ryan Pierce Grayler.
Ellen Christina Scott.
Brenda Jean Greaves.
Carrie Lynn Seals.
Nicole Leslie Grice.
Amy Lynn Serene.
Lee Ann Gora.
Selena Nicole Shackelford.
Deborah Michelle Gutfeld.
Kara Michelle Shaw.
Teresa Ann Hampton.
Patrick Ryan Shea.
Robert Allen Hamrick.
P. Carl Scheimer.
Kevin Scott Haynes.
Brian Junshul Shin.
Karen Sue Harbison.
Brigham Courtney Shuttleworth, Executive Officer, Student Council.
Allison Melissa Hart.
Claire Elizabeth Smith.
Chastine D. Hartner.
Gabriel Evans Smith.
Kimberly Joy Haskett.
Ryan A. Smith.
Chelsea Ann Heckman.
Oliver Southgate.
Lisa Hope Hernandez.
Jessica Lee Spencer.
Kimberly Ann Hogan.
Michael Lee Spicer.
Benjamin Scott Holsinger.
Kelly Christine Spickard.
Mark Allen Hondrew.
Kristen Lee Spickard.
Kristen Evelyn Hopkins.
Shannon Beth Stider.
Vanessa Michelle Hauser.
Jason Allen Stout.
Kelly Shannon Houston.
Christine Veronica Strathman.
Peter David Hernakis.
Danielle Christine Tain.
Karen Joy Hubner.
Kelly Claudine Tain.
Leonard Eugene Jenkins.
Catherine Farrell Tallarico.
Ryan William Johns.
Leonard Anthony Talbot.
Paul Thomas Johnston.
Gary Anthony Tenner.
Sarah Greer Jones.
Jeffrey Lee Thomas.
Gregory David Jorgensen.
Raul Stanislaus Timothy.
Tiffany Caroline Jabinski.
James Alex Traficani.
John Daniel Kaiser.
Michael John Euler.
Theodore Alexios Callis, Student Council Vice President.
Mark Joseph Ulisny.
Christopher Todd Calden.
Gregory Reed Uniton.
Kelly Ann Kane.
Kimberly Joy Vargo.
Lee John Katsafanis.
Elaine Marie Vader.
Amanda Beth Kern.
Sandra Vehover.
Carmen Christopher Kestrenik.
Joseph Anthony Viviano, Jr.
Albert Dungyuk Kim.
Deborah Lynn Wall.
John Charles King.
Megan May Walsh.
Ryan Christopher Kirk.
Robert Charles Wayner.
Kimberly Lynn Kish.
Kiana Shea Wells.
John Francis Krug.
Richard Hunter West.
Ryan Harrison Kuna.
Tammy Lynn Wheeler.
Jonathan Lambert.
Jennifer Marie Werlow.
Paul James Lambert.
Joanne Catherine White.
Patricia Marjenin Land.
Ryan Crosby Williams.
April Lynn Lanzalotti.
Sheila Jane Williams.
Gregory Allen Lash.
Todd David Williams.
John Kenneth Laska.
Jamie Jo Wiltsey.
Sharon Mara Devlin Leon.
Simone Lisa Wolf.
Jeffrey Daniel Lestitian.
Elena Yamaguchi.
David John Lewis.
Kelly Marie Young.
David Allen Lykar.
David Alexander Zaharoff.
Darren Brock Little.
Thomas George Zames. Craig Martin Zemba. Christopher Thomas Zugates.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the graduated class of 1993.
Please put your music in the box.